get this whole show together, but we did. Now, what made you want to do part 2 in the Durruti saga? And I love that in real life, Durruti and Machno are called the Avengers. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, not Machno, but Durruti. But yeah, so here's I started researching the Spanish Civil War in depth in like 2011. I spent about 10 years as a playwright in and around Manhattan, and so like I was looking kind of for my next story, and I got very involved with Occupy Wall Street, and I was reading at the time Homage to Catalonia by George Orwell, and they kept bringing up this group called the Friends of Durruti. So I was like, oh, okay, who the heck is this Durruti guy? Mm-hmm. And I looked him up, and I was just like, this dude's like the freaking coolest guy. How do I not know about it? Oh, right, he's an anarchist, of course. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of felt like a need to tell this story, to express like what I had found in this massive suppressed history. And while I was researching Durruti, I also came upon a meeting that he had with Ukrainian anarchist and leader of the Black Army, Nestor Machno. It's occurred in Paris shortly after Durruti was released from prison for trying to kill the Spanish king. And like, it's one of the most dramatic things like I've ever seen, because here are these like two heroes, one about to go into battle against fascism in Spain, and another who fought while the Reds and the Whites were fighting each other for the right to rule Ukraine, he cut a black line of liberty between them to free it. And so like they're meeting in this like Bond-esque like clandestine meeting in Vincennes, and at this point Nestor Machno basically passes the revolutionary torch to Durruti. He essentially, and then he says to him, when your revolution comes, call on me. Nestor Machno has never refused to fight. If I am still alive when it all begins, I will be one soldier among many. And I was just like, okay, how do you not write that? So I got really, and what's so weird, because I was like, wait, are you telling me they had a crossover? What's very strange is that Durruti's life has a lot of weird comic overlaps. One of which is, of course, that his anarchist group was one of their names was Los Justicieros, which literally means the Avengers. And Durruti, because this predates Marvel Comics, Durruti is quite literally the first Avenger, who then has a crossover with an actual literal Winter Soldier. Machno battled in like -4 degrees in Ukraine in like in the dead of winter. So it was this absolutely incredible story of passion and devotion and revolutionary ideals clashing with brutal reality. And so I was, I wound up working it into a full-length screenplay, which has been optioned by Enon Films, a small socialist film company out of Madrid and Sheffield, England. And like when I suddenly found success as a comic author with Snow White Zombie Apocalypse, I realized like, oh, I can just start doing comics. I can do all of these movies that I've written, but have never been able to get made, because that would take millions and millions of dollars. So right after Swaza, you get famous for doing a series about zombies and fairy tales, so obviously you follow that up with a biopic about a famous anarchist. But like what's been so incredible about doing this is that as I have adapted it from the screenplay like into comics, I'm becoming aware of all of these other like really incredible things about this story, that like the deeper I go down this like historical rabbit hole, the cooler the cooler this gets. So it's really exciting, and that's where the story came from.
Are you writing these for a younger audience that's quite captured right now by the superhero tales that are so popular? Like I want to say we're around the same age. I'm 45.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm 40.
Okay, and so when we grew up, uh, it was hard to find superhero stuff on TV that wasn't animated. And now I feel like superhero stuff is everywhere. Like when I was a little kid, my grandmother used to do me this favor and she would record me. Do you remember the Spider-Man made for TV 3-part miniseries that used to come on with like Tim Field's mom was in it? Do you remember that, Toussaint?
No, I don't.
You don't remember that? It was, and Peter Parker was like this skinny ass dude, and they didn't even have like the web shoot out of his hand. He had a bracelet, and they had to use the Batman thing when he walked up a wall, where it was like the camera was sideways. You don't remember that?
No,
I'm the only one that watched it.
you're a boy.
I may have caught parts of it. I have memories of a live action Spider-Man that seemed to have been shot in the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't realize it was a mini series. I thought it was like a full on series because the episode that I watched was like very episodic.
Yes,
It
it was
didn't
going to be
feel-
a TV show, and it failed. Like most things did that were superhero related back then. The only thing that really was successful was the Superman movie in '79 that comes out.
Mhm.
And then of course Batman doesn't come out for 10 years later, the live action Batman. But now we're just bombarded with superhero everything. For the last 12 years, Marvel has dominated the box office with their movies, and also kind of dominated streaming services. Disney spun off their own streaming service using Marvel and Star Wars stuff.
They've dominated our lives.
It is part of pop culture now in a way where when you're a younger person and you like anime and superhero comics, you're a weirdo. You're the characters of Stranger Things this last season. And the fact that Stranger Things is even a thing really kind of speaks to, what we're talking about right now, this kind of glorification of inverted quotes nerd culture. When you're writing these, are you trying to hit a younger audience?
To tell you the truth, I don't tend to write for an audience. I more write what is particularly interesting to me and what I think people will connect with. As a playwright in Manhattan, I was writing everything from Snow White Zombie Apocalypse to my previously most famous work, North to Maine, A Journey on the Appalachian Trail, which is the first play ever written about the Appalachian Trail. And, I did this because I've been accused of being a method writer. Part of, part of, becoming, part of telling this story about these anarchists was me getting involved with Occupy Wall Street and getting my ass kicked by the NYPD. So
did you shake your fist at them and say, I will write about this?
Oh, so in that time, me and a buddy of mine, John Murdoch, a really phenomenal comedian, it was the 6-month anniversary of Occupy. We linked hands. I was in a Mitt Romney mask. He was in a Barack Obama mask. And we just walked through the police line. And the cops were just like, did they just fucking do that? And I remember we were forced over to the sidewalk. And then suddenly this freaking ginormous, sergeant comes down, throws me into a motorcycle, knees me in the spine, and starts yelling "Stop resisting! Stop resisting!" So yeah. And wait, I just
does John Murdoch make balloon animals?
Yeah. Oh my God! Yes, he does.
I know him. I know.
Yes, we've come full circle. No, that's incredible.
That's awesome.
How do you know this, Toussaint? How do you know this person?
I think he used to have a show on WBAI.
Yep, I remember that.
That's the guy. We're Facebook friends.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Absolutely, really brilliant. And he got me arrested. So my wife loves that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm there on the ground. The mask is like twisted on my head, and I'm like, I'm not resisting, asshole. Now put the cuffs on me, and I pop my hands back. And the cops, it's like they took a step back because I just wasn't reacting like they thought I would. They pulled me to my feet, and everybody's cheering like from both sides. You feel like a freaking rock star. And I just started doing like the most radical thing I could, which was chanting anticapitalista at like the top of my lungs while they like put me into the freaking paddy wagon.
Were the cops like, oh shit, we beat his ass so bad he's speaking in tongues?
You know, they do not have a high level of education. In fact, I think the NYPD bans people who are too smart from becoming cops.
It's like a broken remote. Just hit it in the head again. It'll work.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's like I couldn't go back to the anarchist movements of the 30s, you know, but you know, Occupy Wall Street was a heavily focused anarchist movement, and so you know, joining that, I didn't just fight for something I believed in. You know, I got an important experience that I could then bring to my writing, so that I'm not just simply rewriting, you know, Orwell or a history book word for word. You know, it's important for me to have the emotional content. And to really kind of understand Derrudi's story and the significance that he and people like Nestor Makhno played, you know, in this early, incredibly savage part of the 20th century.